only guy that can go Dodge or blue, one of our arch rivals, and people still love you.
Arch rival.
Dodgers,
I mean, here's the way I look at it. The Yankees hate the Mets, right?
True.
And I'm in the National League, so we have count on the Mets.
We'll start off with Tino for a second. First of all, I know you're a dad and you're busy probably with all the kids moving around, but what's going on with you these days? What's important? What's happening?
Well, like you said, I've been busy with my kids. I have one senior at Fordham University. She's graduating this year. So, my son's in North Carolina. He's a sophomore, and my younger daughter is a senior in high school, and she's graduating this year. So between visiting both kids for family weekends and parent weekends and homecoming weekends, and going on recruiting trips with my senior daughter, who's a senior in high school, I mean, I've been really busy the last 2 or 3 months, and really looking forward to getting home now and enjoying the holidays.
Are you able to take a little bit of a break, or is it never nonstop now with the role?
Break right now. And I'm kind of like Tino. I got a 26-year-old that's starting college this year, a freshman in Lamar University in Beaumont, Texas. So he's playing basketball. He went from playing baseball, not being very good at it, to playing basketball, which he always loved. So he's a 26-year-old freshman. So I'm doing a little bit of that.
But you hooped in high school, right?
Oh yeah. I'm from Indiana. We all do.
So,
You have to.
looking at the Dodgers situation, how hard is that to be so close? Are you able to kind of move on, or you still have to kind of takes a little time to let that pass?
It always takes time to have a season kind of end, because if you're not, for instance, Boston this year, everything comes to a crash. So no matter what happens at the end of the season, if you're not the guy standing, then it's a crash. And to be that close is tough, but really proud of that team. Really put a bunch of guys together coming from different organizations, and felt like that they got after it pretty good for me. They played hard. It was a different group. It was more like an NBA team than a baseball team. They were crazy, but and it's different for me, because I really have always believed in. It's a lot different than the Yankees, because out there beards are okay, everything's okay within that organization. So it's a little different, but only thing I've always cared about is if guys played hard. And I don't care about what's going on. As long as they're there on time and they play hard, I like that. And that group played hard, and so I enjoyed that team. It was a lot of fun.
Could anything have been done differently? What you've done now, looking back on this year? I mean, obviously you had that slow start. Everybody was looking for your head, and then all of a sudden now you're a gem and a jewel and a brilliant guy. Did you waver? I mean, were you ever nervous that maybe this wasn't going to work out for you, or?
I wasn't nervous, but I'm realistic. I've been around the game long enough to know that usually the players don't get rid of all of them. They usually get rid of one guy and they try to make a change. So, and we weren't playing well. I knew we had a number of guys hurt. I think we had 20-something guys on the DL this year. So I had a lot of my best players hurt. And I knew if we could get everybody healthy, that we were going to be pretty good. And so trying to do that was a battle. But it's just I feel like just a test of perseverance and things that you believe in. You believe in working hard. You continue to do that. You believe in just what your beliefs of the game. My guys are working hard and they're playing hard, and we're doing everything we can and continue to do that every day. I got to believe that's going to be enough if you have the talent. And that's what it was a good feeling this year, to be able to persevere through that. To go through tough times and be able to hold your head and say, you know what, I know where we're going, and stay with that. And then we got there, and so that was a great feeling.
Can I say something about that, Brandon, real quick?
I never doubted you for a minute, by the way. Doubted you for about a month or two, not for a minute.
I saw Donnie in late May, basically when the team was struggling really bad, and the media wanted to fire him and whatnot. And when I saw him, he said the same thing back then. He says, hey, it's early in the season. The media writes stuff, whatever they want to write. He said, things turn around. If I had this slump in the middle of the season after a good start, nobody would be talking about it. But, you got to give the guys a chance to get going. We haven't gelled yet. He said the exact same thing back in May, and he stayed, true to his beliefs in the team and game, and it showed in the end. I'll never forget that.
But Tino, how lucky were you though? Let's get back to you for a second. First of all, you pick up Donnie, or did you bought Donnie's house, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Well, we have the same agent.
Yes.
That just worked out perfect.
It worked out great. It really did. You know, I didn't know where to live in New York. I had no idea. All I knew about New York was hotels in the city, and that was it. And when I got traded to the Yankees in the wintertime, I still didn't know where to live, where to go. I had no idea about Westchester, New Jersey. I had no idea where anything was. So spring training started, and I didn't have a place to live. And my agent, our agent, is a great guy. He said, hey, why don't you go see Donnie's house in New Jersey? He wants to sell it, whatever, and so on and so forth. And I said, you know, I couldn't get away from spring training, so I sent my wife up to see it, whatever, and she went up with my agent, and she came back and said, it's a great house, great for kids. My kids were smaller back then. Great for the kids, great backyard and whatnot. And I said, all right, get it. I didn't even see it. So I got there when the season started. You know, we moved in. It was the first time I saw it. It was a great house. And but one thing, you know, coming in after Donnie like I did, the last thing I wanted the media to know is I bought Donnie's house. You know, it's like, don't say nothing, please. And nobody really knew that.
I didn't know that, but you remember when you moved out, you called me up and I went over to your house and I'm like, what are you doing? And we just won the World Series.
Yeah.
And was it 2000, right?
2000, yes.
I was like, what are you doing? And he said, well, Brian, you got to help me here. I got to get rid of all this stuff. And I remember taking all the bats and
Yeah.
it just was like, you know, it was like, what are you doing? So I'm going to throw this away. Whoa. Let's not get crazy now. We love Tino because nobody used more bats than Tino. I don't know what the issue was, but I just have never seen a person use more bats other than maybe Posada.
Did you change models?
Not really models, no. I just, if it didn't feel good after a while, I just put it away and broke out a new one. You know? Didn't have any hits in it, I got rid of it.
Happy feeling in '96 though? You know, to come the end, were you shocked? You know, to get that trade. What was going on in your brain?
Yeah, I was shocked. Because we had 95 playing in Seattle. We had a really good year that year, made the playoffs, and beat the Yankees in the playoffs. The last thing I thought was they're going to trade me. I had a great year. Mike Blowers, Jeff Nelson. You know, we thought we were going to be in Seattle for the next 5 or 6, 7 years at least. So when they decided they had to cut salaries, they had too many guys making a lot of money in the small budget team back then. You know, Luke Miller asked me in the offseason, you know, we got to trade you. Where do you want to go? It was New York, Chicago. The Cubs were thinking about getting rid of Mark Grace at the time, and San Diego. And I said, well, you know, I'd like to go to New York. I knew when Donnie retired, we played in the playoffs. They had a really good team with a great bunch of guys coming back and stuff. So, you know, Lou made that happen, and it worked out great. Of course, I was happy about it, the way things turned out, but I did not expect that. I didn't expect to win the World Series in '96 or to win 4 out of 5. No chance, not at all. I just knew we'd have a good team and a chance to contend.
What's amazing is, when you think about if the Yankees win that 5-game series, so many things are different. I mean, just the whole series in between. Maybe Buck, maybe the manager doesn't get changed and everything else. Don, going back to that period of time, you're back. How bad?
Not that bad.
Could you stay a little longer, or were you
Yeah,
just...
I could have kept playing. I think I could have. It was more of a kid issue than a back issue.
I felt like you want to be more of your family.
Yeah, because I knew that I think they'd offered a couple-year deal, and at that point, the last couple of years, I thought about it in '94, then the strike came, and I was like, I don't really want to end like that. You know, we had like a 6-game lead, I think, that year, and then we didn't hadn't been to the playoffs. And the next year, in '95, I pretty much know that's it. And really what was happening with me was my boys were getting older, and they were like playing Little League at that point, and like they weren't coming to New York anymore. So, you know, that time we had this nice house over there that we both had. Me and Tino had a nice house together. But all I was doing, I was driving to the ballpark, and I was coming home, and I was going to the bedroom, and I was leaving. And I didn't even, it was just like, this sucks. You know, my kids aren't here. I wasn't enjoying that. And so I knew it was, I thought, you know what, I still loved playing, but I didn't like being away from my family. And the boys were a big part of my life. And it was at a point where I had to choose either keep playing and not know my boys really and be a part of their life, or, I just chose my kids, and that's really all it was. My back was not great, but it wasn't bad to the point where I couldn't do anything. I was swinging about all right at the end.
But Tino, you're a little like that too. I mean, you don't really have a slower speed during the season. Always impossible to get a hold of you. I mean, always focused on the game. Do you think that could you have maybe played together? Was that always a thought? Or?
I wish. I thought it'd be great. I would have had a DH or something like that. But if that was the case, basically, if Donnie was coming back and they somehow still traded for me and I had DH, I thought it'd be great. I mean, I really, would love to have played with him. I loved watching him play for many years as well. So I would have loved it. I thought it'd been great, yeah. Or I wish.
I like it the other way. I think I would have been better off. No, I mean, really, seriously, because Tino was great at first, and it would have been better for me to play less, because at that point I'd have been better off DH, because just not having to be on the field as much and things like that. And so it would have been a lot.
Awesome. I would have loved it. There's no doubt.
It's funny, Tino, you say that too, because a guy asked me what one of my biggest regrets being with the Yankees, and the biggest regret was I didn't get a chance to play with Thurman. And Thurman was that guy when I came up with, Lou Piniella and Gossage and Nettles. They always talked about Thurman. Like, this guy was just, and he would have been at an age that he would have still been playing. And so that's one of the things I felt like that you miss out on is I would have had a chance to play with Thurman. So those are cool little things. That would have been cool if we would have been able to play together, because I had so much respect for Tino the way he played, and I kind of felt like I knew him just from our agent, because he would tell me Tino goes crazy, and he didn't hit, and he's going nuts, all this stuff. He would always tell me, change the bats. So it would have been cool to be able to play with Tino.
Favorite players. It's amazing how many times I hear former players say how much they respected your games. Both of you, from defensive standpoint, a lot of Donnie baseball fans. I was talking to David Ortiz, his favorite player. It's amazing how often I hear that. Who are your inspirations growing up? Who are your favorite players?
Well, I'm not going to say it because he's here. I have quite a few guys that we come to. When I grew up in Tampa, so in Tampa we didn't have a major league team. We had the Cincinnati Reds. When I was 12, 13 years old, 11, 12, the Big Red Machine then. So they had Pete Rose, Johnny Bench, and they were winning World Series. So I liked watching a guy like Pete Rose play. They just played the game hard. And then when I got into high school in '85, Donnie won the MVP. I was a senior in high school. So that's when you really start, when you're a baseball player, really start looking at guys and trying to pattern yourself after players. And winning the MVP award, the way he went about his business, grinded it out, played hard day in and day out. Everybody loved Donnie, and he was one of the guys I watch how he played, watch how he hit, and just the everyday work ethic he went with. So he's one of my favorites as well.
Your favorite?
Besides Tino? It's funny Tino talks about Cincinnati, because I was kind of a Cincinnati fan too. And really for a whole different reason, because Cincinnati had all those lefties, and we played wiffle ball in the backyard, and you had to hit the way the guy was. So I would bench Johnny Bench, and I'd play Terry Kennedy, and Rose switch hit, and the only guy I basically had to play right-handed was Concepcion. So I like the Reds, but again, the team that's winning like that, you always want to watch. It seems like as a kid you like the teams that are winning, right? It's like, oh, I love the Reds. So I was kind of a Cincinnati fan, but more of a Rod Carew was a guy that I loved watching hit. And he screwed me up for life because I had changed stances all the time. He really did. I should have been like Tino. Tino looked exactly the same at the end as he did at the beginning. But I was changing stances and everything like Carew did. And but he was my favorite. I always thought Carew was really I loved how calm he was at the plate. And I was always thinking like Carew was almost like a cat, in the field chasing the mouse. So he was always coiled and just relaxed, and then just that snap. And I always tried to be like Rod.
He's a tremendous player.
Yeah.
Tino, take me back to '98 for a minute. Unbelievable year. Talk about what that team was like. You're right on the inside of it, and we can even talk about the Grand Slam.
Obviously winning in '96 was great. We all thought in '97 we had a better team coming back. We had just signed, I think, maybe Knobloch came in '97 or somebody else we signed. Thought we had a better team. and we lost that year, which was disappointing. So to come back in '98, I mean, everything just came together. We had Scott Roach just came in and played third base. We had Knobloch at second. We had a great team, a great pitching staff. We had it all working. And when we got off to a good start, we just felt like we couldn't lose the entire year. I mean, it was like we were sweeping series. We were winning 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4. We never lost a series, I mean, until middle late in the season. It was incredible. And it was just a bunch of guys that came to the ballpark to play hard every day. We really didn't have any superstar guys. You know, it was Derek's, third year. He was just kind of getting going as well, as a superstar type player. Bernie was our superstar guy. Everybody else was just, hard-nosed players that played the game the right way. And it was fun to go to the ballpark and compete and try to win every day. And but having won all those games in the regular season, we thought was the most pressure on us that postseason to win. We won 114 games in the regular season, so now all the pressure is on us to win the World Series. If not, you can just throw out the regular season and it wouldn't matter. So
When you go in the World Series, you're slumping, going through a little bit of a down phase there, and you get the 3-2 count, the bases loaded, and everyone's saying, don't swing. That's a little exaggeration, but in our section we were saying that. But well, but what was going on? I mean, how confident were you? Were you nervous? I mean, that was really there was a lot. I mean, there was a lot of pressure on you.
well, there was and there wasn't. It was a tie game basically. So I was just trying to get a base hit a ball hard somewhere, get a walk if it was a bad pitch, whatever it was. I wasn't really thinking about being in a slump because I figured, if I did make an out, it's still a tie game, and I still think we're going to win the game later on anyway, in the 7th inning or on, forward. But so I was just looking for a pitch to hit hard somewhere, and base hit the middle. I wasn't trying to hit a home run, and they threw the ball up in the zone right there, and I just got the good part of the bat on it, and it went out, and that was it. I kept that bat though.
Thank God. It was a game changer, I thought. We got to talk a little about your team, Donnie. First of all, is Magic Johnson, do you talk with him? Does he know what he's talking about with baseball? We know he's a motivator. He would say the same thing, probably.
He would.
Yeah.
He would.
But
Magic's great.
Do you have fun with him? Is he able to
Yeah.
kind of mix it up a little bit with
No,
you?
he's good. He's around. Especially after the NBA season ended. He was doing a lot of ESPN stuff last year. And as we were starting to get rolling, he was around. And he's always great because he's like, hey, when you talk about it, he's a guy that I like from the standpoint it's all about mentality. And he talked to us in spring and just about preparation, doing your film work, doing everything you can to improve. Talk about the challenges of going on the road and talk about their Laker teams about how they love to go on the road and be the bad guys. And I think we were that kind of club this year because of the standpoint we were high expectations, big, a lot of payroll and things like that, and we were kind of the bad guys all year long. And so no matter where we went, it was kind of like you were supposed to win. If you didn't win, then you were babies and spoiled and all that stuff. So I knew we had to deal with that all year long. And Magic was great about talking about that stuff. And he understands, I feel like, the locker room. And that's where most people in the front offices miss, is that mentality that you have. If you can put that together in the locker room, there's a real power. And you can't do it with the numbers. You can't put a number on what happened in the locker room when you get a bunch of guys, like Tino said, that just came to the ballpark and come to play every day. There's a real power within a group like that. And you can't put a sabermetric number on it. And that's what we had this year. So Magic understood that.
What kind of effect did Joe Torre have on you, the way you manage the game and the way you take control of your club?
A lot. You learn a lot from everyone, good and bad. I played for a lot of different managers.
Good and bad.
No, Tino was lucky because when he came in, it was basically, since Showalter was here, he was here 3 years, and then Joe was here forever. Now the next Joe's here for a long period of time, so there's stability. When I was here, it was every year. It was Billy, and then it was Yogi, and then it was Lou, and it was Billy, and then Lou, and Dallas Green, and it was just Stump Merrill. It was each year, and then Joe was good for me from the mentality standpoint of just his calmness, and I felt like that was important because I watched a lot of different guys manage, and when you see a guy react, you know if Tino's sitting on that bench and somebody makes an error and I go, effing guy, he can't play. You know, if I'm reacting like that, they're going to talk. So the biggest thing is to be able to say it, but say it on the inside. You know, and you don't want to let those other guys on the team sit there. You don't want the other players saying that you're going to come down because they're going to make mistakes, and that's just the way it is. But you got to keep that, to me, keep it together. And you don't want players, you know, you don't want them feeling like you're going to, because if he knows when he goes out there, if he makes a mistake, I'm going to do the same thing to him. And so I got to be patient with the guys. But Joe, I got a great story with my middle son Preston. And you know, Joe didn't say much, right? You don't see him. You see him on the bench, it look like he never reacts, right? And so Soriano hits a ball in Arizona, right? And he thought it was gone. Hits off the wall. He gets a single. And Preston was sitting with me. And we're watching at home in Indiana. And I said, Preston, you think Joe's pissed? And he goes, I don't know, Dad. He says, but the first time I've seen him off the bench all year. Joe got off the bench and went to the rail and was looking at with those Hawkeyes. And it's funny that Preston noticed just that little thing. He goes, I don't know. It's the first time he's been off the bench all year, though. And I went, Press, you paid attention.
Kershaw, how good?
He's unbelievable. He
One of
is
the best lefties you've seen, or?
Yes, no doubt. This kid is everything that you would want. You know, he's everything that you would want for a manager. This guy has got great stuff, great makeup. He is a worker. He's a competitor in every area, from fielding to bunting to hitting to just his workouts. This guy comes in, if he pitches, you know, 9 innings or 8 innings, the next day in the weight room, he is fanatical. He's just blowing it out the next day. He's right back on the next. That starts over. He goes on to the next one, and he's unbelievable.
Before we do some Q&A, let's ask you, Tino, one more thing on the Yankee thing. You've been following the Yankees. You've been around. I got to ask you about Derek Jeter. I got to get one story that maybe none of us have heard about. And what do you do with this team now? I mean, what do you do? Is there anything particularly that you think you zone in on that?
There's a lot. I think this is really the first year they really have a lot of question marks going into the season. I think Brian Cashman really has his work cut out for him this offseason. To who he's going to get rid of, who he's going to bring in. Obviously, you need pitching. Starts with pitching. You have good pitching, you got a chance. But then you have an older outfield. You got Soriano, you got Suzuki. What to do with those guys? And Grandison, if he comes back, they have to get younger, I think, somehow or another. But I honestly don't know. I mean, they got the work cut out for them, but somehow in the end, they always seem to find the right guys that come in and get a guy here or there that rises up from AAA maybe and go from there. But this is going to be an interesting offseason, I think, one of the most interesting in the last 10 years.
I think this past season was one of the most interesting seasons. I've really never seen a team in such disarray. Really, you could probably relate to this time and still hang in there, which is amazing. I thought they just did an amazing job when you think about it. I mean, how many players came, went, and then you're still competing down to the end. Pretty good against the world champions, too, right in that division. You're right neck and neck with them for a while. We'll take some questions. Start off with the kids. How many questions?
We're all kids, aren't we?
I agree with you. Yeah.
The best part of being a Yankee, for me, it was a great place for me to play because I was from a small town, and the Yankee fans, I didn't have to kind of like go out and try to get myself attention. I could just go play, and you get a lot of attention just by doing that. And to me, I felt like Yankee fans understood the game. They knew if you got a guy over from second to third, and you got a guy in, or you made a nice play. The Yankee fans understood all the small stuff. And I'm going to go to Seattle. I remember going to Seattle, and the guy hit a double. First guy leads off the inning with a double, and the next guy hits a bullet right at the shortstop. Didn't even try to move him over. And the fans clapped for him. But in New York, you get a bunt down or move that runner, and you get him over, and it's like they understood that you did your job. And And so I think that was the favorite part for me, coming from a small town. I could just go play baseball. That's all I wanted to do, just play. And that was my favorite part of coming here. I didn't have to do anything else. And I was kind of afraid of everything else. I really was. But the baseball part I loved, and I thought that was great.
But isn't that a little bit lost in the game these days, with the players getting paid more for the home runs and the statistics as opposed to playing all the small stuff?
It is. It gets lost. A lot of guys want to hit home runs now to get to, to obviously get the contracts and all that. But then again, like Donnie said, playing in New York, the Yankee fans, they understand all that. They understand getting the guy over. And you might go over 4 that day with getting the guy over twice and striking out twice, but you had a pretty good day in the fans' eyes, and that was the most important thing. So yeah, the players these days a lot of times just trying to hit home runs, and they lose concept of that team play, and that's what guy like Donnie tries to instill in his team, and to get that winning formula going. So it's a different game now.
Will you come back and coach? Will you coach again?
Eventually, I think I would. Like I said, my daughter's a senior in high school this year, so I'm going to probably just stay home this year until she graduates, and maybe do part-time stuff for the Yankees in spring training, that type of stuff. Maybe we'll see.
Question for Donnie, but Tino, I had one opportunity to talk to George Steinbrenner, and all I could say was thank you for bringing you back in 2005. But Donnie, when they signed you as a batting coach, how excited were you, and were you as excited as I was?
I was excited. I think it was the right time. It was the right time for me. I'd been out of the game. It was good because 95 was out of the game for 5 straight years doing nothing but chasing kids around and going to Little League tournaments and just doing all that. And then slowly got back coming to spring training, being able to do some part-time stuff, like Tino talked about. And then coming back, it was just the right time. And Mr. Steinbrenner had talked to me about coming back. My kids were kind of like, "Hey, Dad, you got to go. It's time." So it was. I could be comfortable leaving home and feeling like I was comfortable with where they were at. So I was excited. I knew I wanted to manage at some point. I knew if I was going to do that, I needed to get back in.
I asked you once what your most memorable homer was. You told me, I had an answer in mind, but you told me you hit one off for Getty once that meant something to you. But for me, and I think every other Donnie fan growing up, it's off Venice in Game 2. And to have that moment and to capture it, you just bring us back to the at-bat and what that felt like running the bases, and for the 50,000 people that if they could have rushed the field to tackle you. It just brings us back to that. That'd be great.
All right, easy. Good moment, really. Number one, I started with Andy Bennis was from Evansville, so he's from my hometown.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so this was more. It wasn't even about the game. So I got but I had something going on with my eye early in the year, and I faced Andy out in Seattle. He got me out. I'm like, this got shit. I'm thinking this guy thinks he can get me out. Really, I was going into that game thinking he's throwing a flat fastball and a flat little cutter, and I'm like, this guy doesn't have nothing to get me out with. And so I get him first game, and I feel like, okay, I know he's going away fastball, first pitch, and I don't ever swing at the first pitch fastball or first pitch at all. So I hit a single over the short first time up, and then the next time up I go, he thinks I'm going to swing early now, so he walks me the next at bat. And I kind of just know the changeups. He's going to throw me a changeup in that at bat somewhere, so I'm sitting on it the whole at bat, and end up getting it. And it was just a good feeling knowing that I got it off him. He's a great guy, but it was just getting it off him. But obviously in the playoffs and be able to come up with a big hit like that was a great feeling.
Thanks.
Oh, is that you?
Oh,
thank you. My question is for you, Mr. Tino. You had said at the end of the 2008 season that you sat in the right field bleachers. You brave man, you. And I was wondering if you could expand upon what it was like to actually sit kind of anonymously as a fan, as opposed to receiving all the adulation on the field.
Well, that's a good question. Well, my wife always wanted to do it, you know, and she saw, you know, she didn't do it when I played there. When I was a player there, she wanted to sit out there, but the Yankees wouldn't let her. They wouldn't let the wives go out there for whatever reason. So, it's fine though, you know. I mean, Mr. Steinbrenner wouldn't have none of that. So she couldn't go out there. So then it was the day before the last game in the stadium. It was Sunday. This was Saturday.
We were there.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day. And I told Jenny Steinbrenner or somebody, hey, we're going to sit out there. She said, yeah, no problem. I think I'm going to do it too. So so we got tickets out there. And I told my wife, we got to get there early, though. And we got to sit down early. You know, it'd be all right. So I had a Yankee jacket. It was cold, chilly day. I had the Yankee jacket from the clubhouse, a Yankee hat, and glasses on, and jeans on, whatever. And my wife and I got there, and right at the end of like the visiting team's batting practice, and we sat down there on the seat there, and people started kind of filtering in, filing in there, and we just kind of blended in and kind of watched the game. It was awesome. It was awesome to watch from there. The great view.
Did you do the roll call?
Yeah, the roll call. The whole night. I had one lady come looking at me though from about 4 rows down. She's like going. So she kept looking at me like in the 4th inning, and she's looking at me, and I'm going. I said.
Guys, thanks for organizing this, Mr. Steiner. Donnie, I'm a big fan of yours, going all the way back to your Only on the Yankee days, all the way back. So, you know, a lot has changed over the years. This year, you know, you had Yasiel Puig come up. How did you manage him? And then, you know, the situation with the guys in Arizona jumping in the pool. You know, I know you're an old school guy. How did you deal with that, you know, right afterwards and then, you know, as time went on?
Well, Puig, that takes a while. Yasiel's fun. He's a fun guy. He's a definite challenge. He's different than anyone that I've been around in the game. His talent level is off the charts. This guy could do things that other guys just can't do. And he plays like a kid, like really like a 9-year-old playing Little League. Now, I mean it in a good way, because if he strikes out, he comes back like, you know, you see kids come back, they're ready to cry. And he gets a hit, it's like, God, it's the best day of his life. And he plays like that every day, you know, and he had all this energy. But, you know, then he just kind of, he plays out of control to a point where you're like, okay, you got to quit doing that, you know. Quit trying to steal third with 2 outs and Hanley up. Don't try to steal third with Hanley up. And he does it like 3 times in a row, and you're like, okay, either he's not very smart or he just doesn't want to listen, right? But so he's a challenge, and so that he makes it tough, you know. But I think he's really smart, and I think he's just wild. You know, it really is. He just plays wild, and that's the one thing we got to try to help bring him back. The Arizona thing, I didn't know really what happened, because you win, and you clinch. I was just so excited for our club, because, you know, we'd been a tough year from the standpoint of being really, you know, way down. We come, and then we get close to clinching, and we're struggling. We get a bunch of guys hurt again late in the year, and so we're struggling to win. I just wanted to get that over with, right? I didn't want to go to San Francisco, because those guys were playing good, and had this thing kind of start inching away. I wanted to be able to rest guys and give guys a couple of days off here and there. So I didn't know what happened with the pool thing, and I wasn't that really concerned about it, honestly, because that stuff is it's not like there was a plan. You know what I mean? It wasn't like our guys went, hey, we're going to screw with Arizona, we're going to jump in the pool. It's just like guys were celebrating, and nowadays they don't stay in the locker room. They go back out on the field for some reason. And they end up doing that, right? So it's something I think just happened. It wasn't intentional. So it didn't really bother me, because I think it was spontaneous.
Thank you. Hope you get into the Hall of Fame one day.
Thank you.
But Donnie, I need a quick answer. Is it true that you played the last defensive out of the Pine Tar game at second base wearing number 46?
Yes.
Yes. I heard that, just didn't know if it was actually
Why? I don't know why that day.
He was getting in center.
Yeah, Carew was in the center, and I think Billy was kind of making a little bit of a farce out of it. You know, Billy liked to do stuff like that. So I think he was kind of making a little bit of farce out of it. And something with the number of players, because if you used a player, it was I don't know, I can't remember if it's an extra inning game or not, but there's only so many players. If you've used them, you can't come back and use them again. They're out of the game, so there's only so many guys left. That's why Carew played center, I believe. So.
In the series after 9/11, when you tied the game off with young Ken, set the stage for Jeter to become Mr. November. The next night, when Brocious is up in that same situation, I know you're rooting for him to do something good.
Yes.
What's in your mind? Are you thinking, could this possibly happen again?
No, I wasn't thinking that at all. We're hoping he'd get a hit, obviously, or get on base, keep the rally going. You're never thinking the guy's getting a home run, and it was unbelievable. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sitting right next to Bernie, and in Old Stadium, we got a great view of left field. Home run to right field, you got to come out of the dugout to see it. You can't see it, so he hit it perfect to left field, and we're just sitting there. And when he hit it, as soon as he hit it, most guys jump up and go crazy. We sat there, when he hit it, me and Bernie went. Are you kidding me? I mean, it was shocked. It was supposed to be crazy afterwards, but our initial reaction was like, we just looked at each other like, it was unbelievable. It was great though. It was an exhausting series, that's for sure.
I would disagree with Tino for one thing. He says you weren't sitting there, you don't want a guy to, you just want to get a base hit. As a manager, I'm going, hit a homer. We're down 3, hit a homer. I'm begging for homers all the time.
Donnie, when Joe beat you up with the managerial job, how did that affect your desire to continue to look to manage, and with going to a different team, were you conflicted there?
It didn't slow me down at all, really. I just look at it like anything else, just a little bit of a road bump, right? If you want to manage and that door gets closed, then if you really want to manage, then you take the next step. And at that point, I think I just want to take the next step. So it didn't bother me. It made sense to me what Cash was talking about, because I didn't have any experience. And to be honest with you, right after that, I went through a divorce. That would have been horrible, trying to manage the Yankees and go through that. So going to LA was good for me, because I got into a different league. It was a different organization from the standpoint of you get to meet different people. Got into the National League, which was probably the best thing for if you want to manage. National League is a whole different game, and Tino's seeing it too.
Harder?
Oh my God, it's so much different managing, because you will get embarrassed in the National League if you don't pay attention. Because in the American League, your pitcher's not going to hit, so you're really just concentrating on when do I change pitchers, right? In the National League, if you're going to bring a guy in to pitch, if you need him for more than an inning, and he's 3 hitters away or 6 hitters away, and you don't double switch, and then all of a sudden you got to pinch it, you get around, and you got to pinch hit, and you're like, man, I screwed that up. I should have double switched right there. And so the National League is a tough place to.
Should the DH be the National League?
No way. No way.
Shouldn't even be the American.
No way.
Should the American League be the other way?
You know what? I always thought I would just say American League, keep the DH, whatever. I think there's nothing wrong with the DH, but the National League for a manager, it's the best form of baseball.
I just got to finish up on 2 things. I want to hear both your comments. Mariano Rivera just finished an incredible career. You both, touched him. Give me your take on Mariano, and then we got to get a little Jeter question going too. Go ahead.
Well, obviously, what else is left to be said? The reason we won our 4 World Series, they won 5, but the 4 World Series because of him. And in '96, we definitely don't win in '96, that first year we won, without him pitching the 7th and 8th inning. Because I can't tell you how many games we won 2-1, 3-2, and we had the lead in the 6th, and when he came in for 7 and 8, it was over. And before he even became the closer. And that was the most amazing thing I ever thought. We were kind of hoping then, because Wetton would come in and do a great job and close the game out, but it was always So, we tell Mo all the time, can't you just 3, man? Can't you just 7? Let him do it. But it really was unbelievable the whole year, that 7th and 8th inning, how unhittable he was. And most of the time, especially in the postseason, it was 1-2-3, 1-2-3. I mean, no walks, no hits, nothing. And it was just a luxury to have him there in that situation. And obviously, as a closer, is the best ever. And just a great human being. I mean, You know, you look at games now on TV, and, you know, closers come in, and the game's not over. You know, other people's closers, it's not over. So he's the only guy that we came to the game was 99% over.
Oh, get that.
Yeah, it's
What was
crazy.
that ceremony like?
It was great. It was obviously a great. I was there for the Sunday ceremony, not the
Yeah.
Thursday game, but it was fantastic. You know, he deserved all of it, and you know, it's cool to be back there and just see the fan reactions is the most amazing thing to us. And we're sitting there going, wow, look at this, man. It's really cool. You know?
You like taking pictures?
Yeah, you know, it was really cool though, the way, you know, how you deserve the ovation and stuff. But you know, you guys don't let them down. Other organizations watch that and players, and they go, God, I wish I played for the Yankees. They say it all the time because of the way you get treated. So, thank you guys.
Yeah, Mo was, for me, I just seen a little bit in '95, and then watched him on TV, and then came back to coach with Mo there, and I just, the same way, I'm just amazed of how long, the longevity of Mo. The person part of it, just off the charts, just a great person, and just handles everything with class. He wouldn't be able to tell if he won or lost, he never panicked. That part was great to watch. But just the longevity, because in 2007, I think I left here after 7, and it looked like Mo was starting to slow down. And then 6 or 7 years later, he was saving every game still. And you're like, wow, this guy is going. You're just amazed. It's unbelievable. And it couldn't happen to a better person. I think it's great to see. It's great to
How
see.
about Jeter? Let's just talk a little bit about Jeter. That's a big question mark. Can he come back from this kind of injury? You know Derek, and the preparation level, you know, as a guy who takes everything very seriously. Tino, what you're getting on Jeter? Tell us something about Jeter that we don't know.
Well, I mean, I can't say you don't know. You know everything about him, basically. He's the way he is. You know, you think he's different off the field, but he's not. He's a great guy. You know, he doesn't get in trouble, has a great time off the field. He's the way he is. But I think injury-wise, I think nobody works harder in the offseason than he does. I've seen him for years. He does it in Tampa, and he's already working out. He started on Monday this week, and he'll work out like he always does, you know, to get ready for the season. And I believe if his ankle allows him, if he can get through a full off season of working out without injuries, he's going to have another great year. He will be productive if he's injury-free. Now, hopefully his ankle holds up and the rest of his legs and all that is, you know, okay. If that's okay, he will definitely have a great year, no doubt.
What was it like, Coach? And coachable? I mean, can you coach Derek Jeter? Can you tell him, you know, Derek? You know?
Yeah, he's a guy he's fun to coach, actually. He's funny that one of the best things with Jeet is like when I came back, that was the 100 pitch thing, right? That was when the 100 pitches, the pitch count got to 100. So the joke with Jeet with me would be like, okay, it's 100 pitches, this guy's going downhill. So every time it got to 100, he could be on second base, he'd look at me and go, Donnie, 100. No matter what, always. And I liked it because he was nothing bothered him, and like the game did not even change him. Like as a hitting coach, you kind of go through, and Tino did this year, but you go through the other pitchers, right? And you go through, hey, he's got fastball, slider, split. Didn't hardly ever throw that split. Just disregard that split. Don't even think about it. So he'd be hitting, and a guy throwing the split, he'd look at me and go, I mean, during the middle of the game, maybe the 9th inning, he'd look at me and go, split. So he's fun in that way. You know, obviously you don't have to do anything with him. He's amazing from the standpoint for me that, and somebody said, I don't know how many at-bats he's had, but all of them look the same. And if they're in the playoffs or if there's a 9th with the game on the line, he has the same at-bat, and that's why I think he's so good, is because he doesn't change to the situation. He just keeps hitting and does what he does. And, he's an amazing player for me. He's just tough, and you wouldn't think it, because I think everybody looks at G and sees this kind of just kind of poster boy, right? I mean, he's a great-looking kid, got all these, you know, always everything's great, right? And you would think that this kid is some kind of tough. And, oh my gosh, I've seen guys when he gets hit on that hand, he will actually, I can see him, that pitcher's pitching again, he's trying to hit the ball back up. Yeah, he is. It is so cool. I love it.
This competition, is, you know, just that spirit is, I've never seen anything like it. You have to be on the field. I happen to be lucky enough to be on the field a couple times. And next to him, you don't realize, because I've never seen somebody so intense and look so cool and relaxed at the same time. that's what's so deceiving, is you just see that energy just oozing out of them. It's incredible. Parting shots, just anything you want to say, anything going on particularly, or charities, anything you're working on, events, this, that?
No, I'm good. I just participate in everybody's charity, so I do some things back home in Tampa, but not really. I enjoy being here. Thank you all very much.
Well, a lot of stuff going on between kids and still trying to continue on. Just again, I've been off for like 2 weeks, so it's now start thinking about how we're going to win next year. Start doing that again. But really, it gives me, every time I get a chance to get back, it gives me a chance to really be able to thank the fans really for the way they've treated me over the years. And it's one of the greatest things of playing in New York, like Tino says, the way the people treat you. It is a great place to play, and so I always want to be able to say thank you for the fans.
You guys have done a great job off the field, just consistent and always just doing the right things and the smart things. But with the Mattingly Foundation, how if somebody wanted to get involved, donate, or?
Well, we have a website with the Mattingly charities. The main thing we try to do is bring baseball to inner city and be able to bring equipment in a lot of the places that don't get baseball. And there's areas in LA, there's areas here in New York, obviously Jersey. But if kids don't get introduced to baseball early, they don't play. And it's a game you can't wait till you're 12, because speed is a different animal. And all of a sudden you're at Little League and some guy's throwing. And if you haven't been playing since you've been little, it's a game that's learned. It's a skill. There's a talent to it, but there's a skill that you learn in baseball. And I think if you don't play early, so that's what we try to do. Try to make sure we're getting equipment to inner city kids, making sure we're touching those kids, and then in certain instances trying to get after school programs together and computers and things like that, so education continues also.
Good work, love it. So you go to Mattingly.org or
Charities.
MattinglyCharities.org. Done a great job with that. Thank you so much. We appreciate the partnership at Steiner for both of you guys. It's been an honor and a pleasure to work with you over the years. Never a doubt. Before autographs really got hot, you were like,
Impossible.
we were one of the first, right? It was unbelievable. I mean,
The Fan Fest line was 3.5 hours.
it's insane. It's just amazing. It's a credit to you. But we love the partnership. I'm going to bring on Brooks, and so thank you guys for coming. Thank all of you for coming.